Copy link. Share it with everybody. Add everyone live now. Stop on by. Let's say come on by. Hello, hello, is my audio working? I think it is, right? It's so hard to tell. I'm like pretty sure it is. Yeah, it is. It is. All right, all right. All right, all right. My audio's working. I know it. Alrighty. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Alrighty, getting my thing all set up, trying to lure people into watching this, as many people as possible, because that's what you got to do. Okay, okay. Hello, hello for anyone and everyone stopping by. Hello, hello. We'll get started answering questions and just genuinely talking about all things nerddom pretty soon here. Yeah, but feel free to ask anything to your heart's desires. I already have several questions already propped up from my Discord. So I'll be getting those, and then we'll be diving into a whole bunch of other fun things. Because I've got some announcements to say, and I've got some things I want to talk about, and all that fun jazz. We've got things to do. Trying to find anything else. Okay, okay. My stream quality looks as good as it can get. Hello, what's up, dog? What is up, dog? The hair is back. So I go through these lengths of not having hair and then having all the hair. Basically, that comes down to I'm poor, so I don't want to pay for a haircut. So, and I'm also not a professional haircutist. A cosmetologist. So what I do is I do the COVID cut where I just buzz my head. And that's typically what I do. And yeah. So right now I'm in that phase of growing out the hair because why not? It's not exactly summer yet. It gets more. I mean, I live in California for those that you don't know. So it does get relatively hot. I mean, today it's like, what is it today? It felt like it was like 80 some odd outside. Yeah, it was like 82, so not terrible. 82 degrees Fahrenheit, mind you, for all the non-US people. That'd be something around the area of like 20s Celsius, I assume. Yeah, somewhere around there. Maybe like a low 20s, right? I don't often convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. I don't often do that. But when I do. What did I think about the D&D Direct? I'll go ahead and copy that down. I'll be answering that for sure. Because I got some things to say about that. I've got some things to say about that. Because admittedly, the D&D Direct was it was a thing. It did happen. It definitely was present there, and definitely people have feelings about it, right? the most obscure way to talk about it, but let me do one more thing before I start answering some of these questions and talking with all y'all, because once again, I'm trying to share this out because I want as many people as possible to be hopping in on the fun jazz. Other than D&D, how do you spend your time? What are your other interests, hobbies, fandoms? Okay, I'll definitely get to that as well. Alrighty, that's definitely a good question. Alrighty, so kicking things off here. My name's No Fun Allowed, contra my name. I sometimes allow fun. I am your resident D&D nerd. I've been doing it for quite some time. I'm primarily a DM for life. I have been a player, but I know that my love and interest is in that of DMing or GMing or refereeing or whatever the system is entailed. And I offer a lot of insights on the game. There is quite a lot to the game. The game is nuanced, and I unfortunately find that a lot of people are not applying that nuance when they're applying their critical thinking to the game, and I want to challenge that. I want people to think about the adventures that they're running. I want people to think about the characters that they're playing as, and that's something I want to step up with my channel. Is my channel has been predominantly a DM focused one, specifically for running pre-written modules. I've dabbled in some other things, but I want to push myself. I want to show off more facets of the game. I want to show off more things, and not just for the DMs, but for the players too. And I want to ask those hard-hitting questions to get you to question yourself. What does it mean to run the game? What does it mean to be a player? What does it mean to introduce this mechanic? What's it mean to, have this incorporated into your game? Things like that. Those are some things I want to be hitting up on my channel fairly soon here. And I'll be very looking forward to seeing how that works out. But without further ado, I'm going to be diving into a whole bunch of questions that you all submitted to me in the Discord or in the channel right here. I am going to be talking back and forth with all y'all, so feel free to text it up. If you really, really want to support me, the best way to do it would be to share this and share my channel, because the more eyes on, the better. I want to get as many people watching as humanly possible, because that's just the best way to grow. So any of y'all that are willing to help a homie out, feel free to share that out. I'm not cool enough to have what all the other D&D YouTube streamers have. I don't have that like raid boss thing where you're trying to give me money to beat the boss or whatever. I don't have that yet. I'm still working on some things, but I'm constantly working on my craft, and I want to get better at it, and I want to show off more things to all of y'all. So yeah, without further ado, let's kick things off here. What has been the greatest challenge as a D&D YouTuber so far? So, my greatest challenge as a D&D YouTuber so far has been selling myself. I've never been in a situation where I've had to sell myself, where I've had to basically just go door to door and say, hey, look at me, get my stuff up, look at my stuff. Watch, like, comment, subscribe to my Patreon, give me money. I've never done any of that for anything. All my previous jobs, I simply just did my job, and whatever, benefits came, it came from me doing my job. But YouTube isn't quite like that. YouTube, yes, there is the niche cases where you can make the best product ever and you don't have to do anything outside of just making the product and people will come to you. But that's typically not how YouTube works. Typically with YouTube, you have to, not only do you have to make a good product, but you have to sell it. You have to make, it doesn't matter how good the video is, you need a sexy thumbnail. It doesn't matter how good the thumbnail is if you've got a crappy video. It doesn't matter if you've got a good thumbnail and a good video if you're not getting people to watch it and to share it. It doesn't matter if you're making good stuff on Patreon if no one knows about your Patreon. And to me, that has been the hardest challenge is having to just constantly, day after day after day, remind people about these things, reminding people to like and comment, subscribe, and look at my Patreon and look at my, whatever the case may be. I've been so bad at that, and something recently just clicked, and I will be going to great strides to be better about that. So that has absolutely been my greatest challenge. The thing that really sucks about YouTube, specifically D&D YouTube, is there is only so many people watching, and I've heard some people say that a rising tide raises all ships, but I don't believe that, sadly. I honestly think that we're in a pond, and the big fish get the food, and if you're a little fish, then you suffer. And yeah, there's obviously been people that come and go that rise well and above and beyond. In fact, one of my friends, Steely Sam, he started around the same time as me, and he shot up to 200K subscribers. That definitely does happen, but I think that what happens with a lot of us is we stagnate, and it's tough trying to put yourself above everyone else, especially because there is constantly more and more people trying it out. In my time in YouTube, I've been on YouTube for a year and change now, and there's already been channels that have just spawned and gone well ahead of me. But at the same time, there have been channels that were older than me, and I've passed them. So it's important to recognize that. I need to humble myself, and I need to, strive to make myself better, make my content better, and be better at selling myself. So yeah, that's been my greatest challenge. Any strong thoughts or feelings on players being optimized builds from the internet? Ooh, oh yes, I've got some thoughts on that. I do have some thoughts on builds. I call this the Field of Dreams lie. You can't just build and expect people to come to a cornfield in the middle of Iowa to play baseball. Right, and that's the unfortunate thing. Like, I've actually asked people this, like, how would you feel if YouTube had a thing where there was no thumbnails and there was no external links? How would you feel about that? Because quite frankly, if you are a single person making a YouTube channel, you can't put on a single hat. You can't be you can't just be the script writer. You can't just be the this. You can't just be that. You as a single person making YouTube videos have to do a ton of things. You've got to be the script writer, you've got to be the video editor, you've got to be the personality, you've got to be you got to be the graphic artist, you've got to be the marketer. You have to be so many things, and I don't know how. I'm trying to think of like any other job where you have to do so many things at once. Admittedly, like, not everyone is a single YouTuber. There is plenty of people that are in teams. They right out the gate, they have 2, 3, 4, maybe even more people working on the channel, and that helps out a ton. But for me, unfortunately, in my circumstance, I'm a single YouTuber. I don't have anyone doing anything for me. I don't have anyone editing. I don't have anyone making thumbnails. I don't have any of that. And yeah, I struggle with it. It's a lot of responsibility, and some people are easily up for the challenge, and unfortunately, I have for a long time not been up to the challenge. It's been tough. It has certainly been tough. Ooh, and another question there. I'll be getting to that fairly soon. Okay, moving on. What homebrew rules do you like to use in your games? And I think I'll, like, as an addendum to these, I'll have like a thing that kind of highlights just in case people watch the VOD. Marketing and selling myself. Alrighty, so what homebrew rules do you use in your games? I use several. The big thing for me is that I run a whole bunch of different games for a bunch of different people, and the rules are not consistent between those games. The rules are not consistent on the campaign. The rules aren't consistent on the players. The rules aren't consistent on the whatever. Because I'll run a group, and just recently I ran a group, and they were very much in the camp that they didn't want a hardcore game of combat. They just wanted goofy, wacky combat. And thus I incorporated some homebrew rules of mine to allow for there to be a weird sense of chaotic combat, but it wasn't lethal. I've ran a group where it was a super duper hardcore dungeon crawl, hex crawl, and there I incorporated some homebrew rules in regards of how they move about the dungeons and how they move about the hex crawl, and long rest being 8 hours, or long rest being a week and short rest being 8 hours, and things like that. I've incorporated a lot of homebrew rules into my games, and quite frankly, but the real question here is, what homebrew rules do you like to use in your games? The real answer is, it depends on the campaign. Whatever makes the table happy. And that sounds like a cop-out answer, but I think for like an example, another example of this would be a homebrew rule that I would use in a campaign to make the table happy would be something along the lines of, if there was a group that really wanted hardcore combat, I would basically have there be, basically, they're always fighting in something lair. Always fighting in some monster's lair. And the layer has effects, and the layer has layer traits, or layer actions. So on initiative count 20, then something happens. And maybe on initiative count 10, something happens. And ever presently, there's always something going on. If they go to the bandit layer, then when they're fighting the bandits on initiative count 20, then maybe a smoke screen will appear to help out the bandits. And on initiative count 10, then a new tripwire is raised up. Things like that. Basically just ways to give the group that wants what they want more. Yeah, potions as bonus actions is definitely just one of those go-to ones. Funnily enough, purely as written, potions as bonus actions is really like... in some ways it does break the game, because there are some potions which if you consume as a bonus action, they are just insanely powerful. Like, for example, being healing potions, right? So like healing typically is an action, besides healing word, but healing word is only a D4 plus whatever. But like a healing potion of like a greater healing potion, that can be basically competitive with like a cure wounds of a high level. And a cure wounds is in fact an action. So there are definitely some cases where consuming a potion as a bonus action, one, it's kind of breaking the game in a balance. And two, very, very niche case, but there is in fact the Thief Rogue, which can use object interactions as a bonus action. And that takes away that whole ability. So you gotta wrestle with like, are you okay with the thief not being as strong, because the thief could in fact drink potions as a bonus action, whereas everyone else has to drink it with an action. That's something you gotta wrestle with. Alrighty, are you pro-rebellion, empire, or a total scoundrel? Because happy May the 4th, everyone. If you're a Star Wars nerd, then congratulations. I know that if you're a Star Wars nerd, the past few years have not been the best of times, because not everyone has been a fan of the movies, and not everyone's been a fan of the shows and of the comics and of the whatever else, which is unfortunate. I personally do consider myself a Star Wars fan. I'm typically not a negative guy, as ironic as that is. I do enjoy Star Wars. And I've not been displeased with any of the new things coming out, but it is what it is. In regards if I'm pro-rebellion, empire, or a pirate, because one of the major factions in Star Wars, for those of you that don't know, are the pirates, or the syndicate, whatever it is you want to call it. And me personally, I'm pro-empire. Here's why. The rebels are filthy traitors and terrorists. The pirates are filthy scum. But the empire is bringing, order and balance to a chaotic galaxy. Something to remember about the world that is the of Star Wars is during the Galactic Republic seemed nice and dandy. Oh, they're a democracy, and oh, they're all kind and whatever. But they could only ever control a small portion of the galaxy. And unfortunately, because they could only control a small portion of the galaxy, they couldn't go out and stop all the terrible things that were going on. And because the democracy was so polluted, the Senate and all that stuff, there's too much litigation and all that stuff. And that caused a whole bunch of bad things. And the Empire did away with all that and tried to create just one galactic empire throughout the whole galaxy and try to unify everyone into one thing. And obviously, yeah, some of their methods may be a little bit extreme, but sometimes you gotta break a few eggs, right? No one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. True that. True. I talked about this in my last live stream, but basically, the more you like something, or the bigger a fan base is, the more haters it has. So, like, Star Wars is one of the biggest fan bases ever of all time, and thus there's a bunch of people that are just super duper angry about it. Critical Role has a super duper huge fan base, and a whole bunch of people, get angry with Critical Role. Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones had a huge following. Guess what? A whole bunch of people got a whole bunch of upsetty spaghetti about that. All the way. What the heck did I just get? Okay. Also, something really cool is, so YouTube is trying to compete with Twitch. They are adding rating. For those of you that don't know, Twitch rating is basically when your stream is over, you can click a button, and then all of your viewers immediately go to that next channel. And YouTube is adding rating, but they're not calling it rating because rating is probably trademarked, or they just don't want to associate it with Twitch. They're calling it something else. I'll double check the word here. What was it called? It's not hanging out. Oh my god, it's got a really dumb name. It's live redirect. So basically, once your live stream gets done, you can redirect people, which doesn't sound as cool as rating, but it's funny that way. Alrighty. What did I think about D&D Direct, the D&D Directional? Oh man, what did I think about D&D Direct? I think it's a great idea, right? I think D&D Direct is a fantastic idea that if they do this, quarterly or, oh my gosh, what would you call something if it's done like once or twice in a year? I'm totally blanking on it. Would it be bilaterally? I don't know. But if they do a D&D Direct at least, once a year, maybe twice a year, I think that'll be good because people trust in roadmaps. People love when a company that is putting out a product, multiple products, they love it when you can see that there's a clear guideline for how the content is coming out. That's fantastic. Now, in regards of what came out this year, in regards of D&D Direct, we were given Spelljammer, we were given Dragonlance, we're given, oh my gosh, we're given like some weird, adventuring, like skirmish game. We're given, We were given, we're told about new shows coming out. We're also, this is just bugging me. I just noticed a typo. I lands. But in regards of what we were given, we were given some good stuff. But the thing is I don't know how well these things are going to perform. And we also got told a bit about the Radiant Citadel as well. So, what did I think about Spelljammer? I think Spelljammer can be fun, but I think Spelljammer is of a forgotten age, and I don't know how well new people are going to like it. When it comes to Dragonlance, I don't know how new people are going to like it. I think Dragonlance in particular is a little bit weird because Spelljammer had a very niche following and it kind of died off. Dragonlance has had its own niche following, but people I think liked the books more than the actual the novels more than the adventures. And I don't know how that's going to translate over into 5e. I've got no clue. Absolutely no clue. So I would say overall, how to feel about D&D Direct? I feel mixed about it. It was fine, but there could be improvements. Yeah, I mean, D&D is direct. That it's so weird. It's I feel like it could be a lot of fun. I feel like it could be really entertaining because for the previous years before then they were doing a D&D live, which by the way I got to go to one of the D&D lives. I went to the Waterdeep one. That was a blast. But from an outsider's perspective, those events were like 3 or 4 days. And I don't know how much people liked the 3 to 4 days of things being doled out in between all the live stream games and all that, this and all that. I've got no idea. I'd have to see some, marketing or analysis on do people prefer that versus just 1 hour of some news. I got no clue. I'd also throw out the more expectations fans have for the thing they love, the more they need it to be a certain thing, the stronger they hate. Yeah. That's honestly the thing is the more you like something, the more critical you are about it, right? The more you want something to be perfect when it's not perfect, then it sucks, right? It really sucks. If you ever make merch, you should have a shirt that says the thing about it is I'll tell you what. Before on my channel, I had this horrible thing of doing a lot of ums, and I did a lot of. Oh my gosh. I purposely have mentally blocked the word that I said. Oh my gosh. This was really prominent in my Waterdeep series, and I still get flamed for it to this day, but I purposely mentally block it out because I don't want to say the word anymore, or the phrase anymore. Oh my gosh. I'm totally blanking on it. It's a good thing, but I have several things that I say, right? And one of them was really, really bad. Not offensively bad, just it was just annoying that I'd say it over and over again. But I definitely have a thing of saying the thing about it is I don't know why I do. I just always have something that I repeat, and I really need to break out of it. But the thing about it is mind you, I'm not saying it facetiously. The thing about it is right there. I think that's a lot better than the one that I had before. I'm totally blanking on what it was because I just I purposely mind blanked myself to that terrible phrase. Go ahead, Ant. That's what it was. Before, my go-to thing would be go ahead and I would say that 50 times in a freaking 30-minute video, and it obviously was annoying people. So yeah, I'll work on the thing about it is I'll definitely keep that in my conscious now. The funny thing is I said that there facetiously, but I am actually a very good public speaker. When I am out in public and I'm talking to people in front of a crowd and in front of an audience, I am a really good public speaker. The thing about doing it in front of a camera is that I don't have any of that feedback. Normally when I'm talking to a crowd, I get to lock eyes with people and I get to see their reactions and I can move my eyes about. But talking to a camera sucks. It really, really does. Talking to a camera is just absolutely abysmal, and I hate it. Organically having a catchphrase is cool, you do you. The thing about it is wait, what? You know, once again, you can have a catchphrase, but if you overuse it, it gets just miserable, right? Like, you know, if you're watching your favorite TV show and that character that shows up once the episode, if they've got a catchphrase, it's fine because, you know, they only say it the one time in the whole 24 to 48 minutes of the show. But if I'm doing a 30-minute video and I say the same catchphrase 30 times, that gets real old real quick. Alrighty. Other than D&D, how do you spend your time? What are your other interests, hobbies, and fandoms? Okay. So, other than D&D, how do I spend my time? The sad truth of the matter is, as of this current moment in time, my current, basically, time spent outside of D&D is very minimal. Because right now, I do a lot of writing for D&D. I've got my own Patreon, and I'm writing up adventures, and I write stuff for other people. So, you know, maybe sometimes, unfortunately, my life is consumed by D&D. But mind you, D&D is the amalgamous term. I am actually doing other things for other... I am both, like, running and writing for other systems besides D&D. Like, I write things for Dungeon Crawl Classics. I write things for Old School Essentials. Things like that. So, what other interests, hobbies, and fandoms do I have? You know, the weeb answer here is going to be anime. Because at night, before I go to bed, I watch some anime. You know, get caught up on all the anime weeby goodness. In regards of hobbies, sadly, I don't have many other hobbies. I used to play video games a lot, but I have drastically stopped in my video game playingness. So I guess home improvement, not the show, mind you, not the show Home Improvement, but I've been doing a lot of stuff around the house recently. In fact, after this stream, I'm going to be cleaning up my backyard. I'm going to be moving a whole bunch of things about. And fandoms, I don't, as much as I like Star Wars, I don't know if I could, you know, allege that I am like a true part of the fandom because I don't go to events and I don't dress up and I don't go out of my way to consume a whole bunch of like outside entertainment of that nature. So sadly, other than DD, how do I spend my time? Anime, home improvement, and writing, I guess. That's pretty much all she wrote on that. And speaking of, for those of you here, I've got like a little promo here of what I'm doing. I've got on my Patreon, I'm coming out with new magazines each month on new subclasses, spells, feats, magic items, game mechanics, articles, monsters, and adventures. I am gonna be starting up a website relatively soonish, maybe in like a few months, and I'll be selling individual products for on the cheap, and I'll be releasing adventures and a whole bunch of things like that. So if you are looking for my own inputs on running the games and adventures and monsters and all that things like that, then check it out. Alrighty. Any strong thoughts or feelings on players using optimized builds from the internet? Alrighty, so this is probably the statement that's going to get me canceled within the D&D sphere. But I've got to say it. I've got to stick true to myself here. I truly do believe that builds are unhealthy for 5e. Now, why do I say that? It is because I think 5e in particular is too shallow of a game to have builds in. And I immediately am hearing some people saying, what do you mean? You can make builds, this and that. The thing about it is once again, I'm saying that very facetiously. 5e is very much so a simple combat game. Very, very simple. When you compare this to other game systems, 5e is a simple combat game. Typically in combat, the fighter moves forward and swings their sword. The wizard stays back, casts their best spell, and repeat process. There is a very, very large lack of fluidity to the game. There is a large lack of nuance to the game. And typically what combat boils down to is enemy has X HP, make XP reach 0. And typically the best way to do that is to do damage or use X spell, which basically cancels the enemy. And what I end up seeing a lot in some of these builds is the build either does more damage or it just simply does one of the spells that renders or just cancels enemies, right? And, you know, it's just unfortunate. Like, for example, being, I recently saw it was a fighter, I believe, ranger build. And basically the whole concept of it was you put Hunter's Mark on someone, and then then you basically hit them a bunch and use an action surge and hit them a bunch, and you're just applying D6s all the time. Things like that, right? And then like there's the other, optimized builds of picking this spell that helps you and this and that, and I think builds are just not healthy for 5e. And to that matter, I would actually say that builds are sometimes unhealthy for the game as a whole. When it comes to what our games actually are, I am genuinely curious if you had to ask people what is more important, the adventure or the characters, how would people answer? And there is no 50-50. You can't say that they're equally important. Ask people what is more important, the adventure or the characters. I think that the adventure is far more important. I think that the characters are a tool for experiencing the adventure a lot of the time. And what ends up happening is if the adventure is a tool to express the characters in the world, then if the characters are these optimized power builds, then that's a reflection on the adventure, right? I just don't like it. And I personally prefer not having optimized builds. In fact, just recently in a game that I played in, I actually rolled 3d6 for my stats down the line. In a 5e game. 5e, like in the player's handbook even, it doesn't even have any recommendation for rolling 3d6 for your stats. It only is the recommendation of rolling 4d6 if you're going to do that. But I rolled 3d6 and I rolled them down the line to see what kind of character it generated for me. Because I find that having an unoptimized character, a weak character, do awesome things is so much better than a strong character doing amazing things. Because a strong character doing amazing things is to be expected. But a weak character doing amazing things, that is legendary. So my whole thought process on that is I don't like builds. And I know that's really unfortunate because there's a lot of people that love builds. Drinking game, take a shot of water every time he says the thing about it is I'll tell you what. The thing about it is if you did a drinking game, even on water, you would die. Because you can in fact die if you drink too much water. Ooh, here we go. Do you play your adventures with your patrons? Currently, no. I've just been doing it on my Discord. But I do actually plan on having that as a thing in the future. Hello, Helga. Hello, all. Rivers, the characters. Oh, okay. Not to mention, having a terrible stat is sometimes hilarious and fun. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really tough one, right? I like the characters being the vehicle for the adventure. I typically don't like the adventure being a vehicle for the characters. Now, personally, that comes down to the individuals, that comes down to the game, that comes down to the characters, that comes down to the players, that comes down to a lot of factors. But from my personal experience, there are better game systems for characters than 5e. That's my personal opinion. There is very good game systems that are about the characters in the adventure, not about the adventure with the characters. And that comes down to a number of factors why that is. Is it because of the class, features that you have given to you? Is it because of the character options? Is it because of what your character sheet tells you? Is it because of how the adventures can present themselves? There's a lot of different ways on how you can approach that. And of course, you always had to take into consideration that you can run D&D so many different ways. D&D doesn't mean one thing. Almost nobody runs D&D purely as written. Almost no one runs it vanilla. People purposely bend the rules. They break the rules. They make the game into a different system. But from my personal experience after having played several different game systems and running I've ran at this point hundreds of different players. Literally at this point hundreds of different players. For me, 5e is much more a game about the adventure than it is about the characters. Because the characters are very much so cookie cutters. A fighter is a fighter. If I went to a random game table and I picked up someone's 5th level fighter character sheet, I'm already going to know 90%, maybe even more, of what is on their character sheet, right? If I show up to someone's random table and I pick up someone's 8th level wizard, I'm probably going to know like 90% of what's on their character sheet, right? There are other game systems where you go to a different game table, you pick up someone's character sheet, and you have no idea what you're going to expect. I think that's one of the best ways for me to look at that. Talk to us about those better systems. I'll get to that. I will get to that. What are your other favorite game systems and why? I will get to that as well. I guess those kind of stack up on each other, don't they? Actually, not necessarily, but is what it is. Alrighty, what drew you to doing D&D YouTube videos? So at this point, it was like a year and change ago. It was very much so a COVID project. I pretty much was like, yeah, I'm bored. I might as well start it up. That right there, that's a pretty boring thing, but pretty much what it is. But two, far more importantly, what drew me to doing D&D YouTube videos is I was told that I should do it. Several of my friends said, yeah, you should make YouTube videos on running the games and doing this and doing that. And I did. And I'm very glad that I did, because the people telling me that I should do it got me to do it. And once I did it, I've made great experiences. I get to talk to a whole bunch of different people. I get to do a whole bunch of writing. I get to, sell my product. I get to sell myself. And that's an experience I would not have gotten if I didn't start up my YouTube channel. So I'm very glad that I did. So I'm going to say friends pushed me into it. Haha. And the reason why, mind you, they didn't bully me into it, right? They said, hey, you should do it. And I said, yeah. Now, why did I get drawn into doing it? It's because I have a different story to tell. Who wanted to talk about the game in a different way? I mean, for those of you that, it's tough to say, but there is a lot of people who talk about the same things on D&D, and they typically come at it with the same mentality, and they typically have the same answers for it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to continuously just put out the same information but with a different face and voice. I want to ask other questions. I wanted to approach D&D YouTube a different way. And to start that, I did do the the module guides, which I saw that like no one else was doing the module guides like how I was doing them. And that's something that I'm pretty proud of, because I know a lot of people have gotten a lot of help out of those, and I want to continue doing them, but I also want to do other things. Rolling Crits, that's a great name. That is a great name. So yeah, I mean, not to like disparage anyone or not to do whatever, right? But like, whenever a new product comes out, I typically see like a lot of people go for those clickbait, things of, oh, this new adventure is terrible, here's why, or oh, hey, this new product is meh, things like that. I don't want to do what everyone else is doing, which is unfortunate because, people are doing those for a reason, because they work, right? Obviously, I haven't had the biggest success ever of all time, but I've had some success doing what I'm doing, so there is that. Your hair is so long now, handsome though. Enjoy. Thank you. I am, I've been very, very, what do you call that? Lackadaisical on my cutting of the hair, but I am glad that I look handsome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm pretty handsome. Thank you. I have a channel too. We play under Crit's Corner. Okay. I'll have to check you out. So do you play your adventures with patrons? I haven't yet, but I will. I also host games on my Discord. So, for those of you that haven't joined my Discord, feel free to join it. I've been pretty lazy over there for a long time, but I do plan on revamping it pretty soon here. I'm going to be running a lot more public games, and I want to run some events, and I want to do a whole bunch of things to zhuzh up the community. So, yeah, let's talk about those better systems. So I guess these kind of like wrap together. We'll talk about those better systems and what other favorite game systems and why. So let's rattle off some of the other game systems that I've ran. Old school D&D, DCC. Oh my gosh. Land of Eam. Call Cthulhu. The Vampire. I'm getting a call from Restricted. Get the frick out of here, Restricted. What are the game systems? I need to like take a look at like a list of all the things that I've done here. Paranoia is pretty good. Paranoia. Oh, Mothership, of course. Pendragon. I'll pull out like two more. Forbidden Lands, yes. How could I forget? Lands, and just one more. There's a lot, surprising I know, but there is a lot of different game systems out there. What's another game system I'd put down? Oh my gosh, there's like so many different game systems. I guess Traveler. Yeah, I guess Traveler. Alrighty, so what? So what? When we say better here, better is obviously subjective because better can mean so many different things. And also, I'm going to copy and paste this answer here, or question here. So what is better, right? Better is... Oh, what if I miss my free cruise? Gosh darn, I'm gonna miss a free cruise? Oh, you know what? Actually, I think I have an outstanding warrant for my arrest, and or I need to talk about my my car insurance. Something along those lines, right? So, what is a better system, right? So, everyone that shows up to a table that sits down to play a tabletop role-playing game, they all are coming with a different mentality on what they want out of the game. Some people want to just go from room to room, killing 2d6 orcs in repeating process. Some people want a melodramatic, epic, high quest fantasy adventure dealing with changing nations and the political intrigue. Some people want a, super duper space opera where it is all about, these families and personal strife and overcoming challenges as individuals, right? So what is better? Better is whatever you make it out to be. Like I mentioned before, I believe that 5e is very much so a game that puts the adventure first before the characters because the characters are cookie cutter, right? Whenever I hear this all the time, right? Whenever people say, my character is this. My character is they're a half-elf who came from this family household, and they've got this tragic backstory, and da-da-da, this and that. And one of my go-to thoughts is, what do you need 5e to do that, right? Because 5e doesn't dictate your character's backstory, right? Because in 5e, the only backstory is your race, class, and your background, right? Like, those things are pretty insubstantial, all things considered, right? So for me personally, I see 5e as a tool for adventure. Now, when I'm looking at some of these other game systems here, like old school D&D. Old school D&D, I know a lot of people get this idea, this conception that old school D&D is about killing 2d6 orcs and you have a nameless character because they're just going to die if they get hit twice. But what ends up happening in practice, once you actually run the game, is, yeah, your character sheet has next to nothing on it from the beginning because character sheets give you, or classes basically give you nothing. But the idea is, because your class gives you nothing, over the course of your adventure, your character sheet is going to evolve because of the feats that you've done and the items that you've obtained. For example, that being, in 5e, I look at a 5th level fighter, and I know, okay, they've got the action surge, they got the second wind, they have the second attack action. But if I go to an old school table and I see a 5th level fighter, I don't know what the heck is going to be on their character sheet. Their character sheet may say that they found, boots that let them levitate, and they found a sword that is possessing them. Or maybe they have a ability because they saved a cult, or no, they saved like a church from a cult, that they are able to summon an angel for like 1d6 turns, right? That right there is telling more about the character, because your character is evolving because of the game's adventure. Now, taking that back to 5e, your character, it doesn't matter if you sided with the cult or if you sided with the church. At 5th level, you're getting your second attack, right? If you go and slay the dragon or you just sit there and watch the town burn, eventually, once you level up, you get the feature that's in your class list. But that's not the case with old school. So that right there is very telling for me that it is more about the characters than it is of the adventure. and vice versa, right? DCC is very much so a game about characters because your character is very wacky and weird and zany. Land of Eam is a very, very great example of a very good mesh between the character and the adventure because your character's abilities on your character sheet there change the world. I did a first look on Land of Eam, and I actually do want to make more videos about it. But basically, you have like a feature on your character sheet that says when you go to a dungeon, you know one random fact about it. Now, how that works is the dungeon wasn't pre-made. The dungeon is going to evolve as you know something about it. So as you're going to this dungeon that you've never been to before, you as your character, you say, "Oh, I know that dungeon has a secret moat trap right there at the entrance," and bam, you will that thing into the world. That is very much so telling of the characters changing the world and vice versa. Call Cthulhu is very much so about characters that are everyday normal citizens, everyday people that are getting enraptured in a crazy world that is the Cthulhu mythos and how their sanity is being checked and how they have to overcome these odds. You know, I could go on and on and on, right? But I am here to tell you that 5e is not, cannot, and should not be the end-all be-all answer for all adventures. It should not be the end-all be-all answer for running games. I think that if you are looking for a very specific style of game, instead of trying to make 5e into something that it isn't, I think you should make 5e excel at what it does well, and I think you should make the other game systems, and you should pick up the other game systems when you want to run that specific style of game. Oh. Just subscribed. Heck yeah. Using your subscribe guides with some alterations, very helpful. Have there been other campaigns that you've run that were just as fun written by D&D? Ooh, okay. I'll get to that. Don't you worry. That was fun, y'all. Have a nice rest of your night. Thank you, Peak D&D. I can see that. As in, 5e cares more about mechanics and story, but character development is on the players and the DM. Exactly, right? Exactly. So what are your favorite well, actually I kind of mistypoed there. So bam. And I guess for here I'll actually type in the reason, tell us about the other game systems. Other game systems do other things better than 5e. Don't make a game system something it isn't. Play to its strengths. Don't play against its weaknesses. Yep, those are my thoughts on that. Alrighty, what's your favorite part of being a DM? There are so many different skills people bring to the table and different ways to enjoy the game. So, my favorite part of being a DM is presenting a challenge to my players and or the characters and seeing how that's resolved. And what I typically like to do is I like to present challenges that I truly do not know how they're going to answer them. I know that there's a lot of people who get the idea of like, oh yeah, I'm going to present this one challenge and they can answer it exactly like these one or two ways. And if they need any help, then I'm going to give them a hint to some regard. But I don't like to do that. I like to purposely put I like to tell my players, hey, you're standing in front of a chasm. You need to get to the other side. How do you get to the other side? How are they going to do it? Heck if I know, right? I'm not even going to bother trying to like come up with the idea. Maybe they say, oh, maybe we'll swing across the vine. Maybe we'll activate the magic potion that we purchased. Maybe we'll use that one class ability. Maybe we'll, sky's the limit, right? I love presenting challenges to my players and to the characters Which there is a very important distinction, because you can challenge the players and the characters have pretty much no say in the matter. You can challenge the characters and the players have no say in the matter. And you can challenge both of them at the same time. It's possible, right? What's up, No Fun? What's up, JT and D&D? What is up? What is up? So yeah, I like to rotate between those. I like rotating, challenging the characters. I like challenging the players, and then I like to challenge both the characters and the players. Players/characters, and seeing the results. So, yeah, there are so many different skills people bring to the table. And that's an important thing too, is like, you're going to have the nerds that are the combat savvy people. You're going to have the people that are really into, the role play and the espionage. You're going to have the people that are the rules lawyers. You're going to have people that are the crafty ones. You're going to have the people that, are the bargaining people. You're going to have so many different people at the table. And once again, I have ran for hundreds of people, so I've seen a lot of variance at the table, right? And it's great seeing, that. Also, another thing I really like to do too is when I'm running for multiple people, I love presenting the exact same scenario to see how it's combated differently. I've heard example of that being, I've ran Tomb of Annihilation 3 different times. And when it comes to a whole bunch of like the famous puzzles and traps and combats, I've ran it 3 times. I've had 3 different experiences, and that's great. If you compare that to like a video game where, like nothing like freeform like Divinity or whatever, but like something more rigid like a Call of Duty or whatever, you typically find that people approach a situation in a similar style. But that's what I love about D&D is, I get a whole different group of people, and the way they tackle the challenge is so vastly different. Oh, for sure. Know the location, know what's there, know the challenges and story, know the NPCs and what their motivations are, then you just try to react in a realistic way. Yeah, and that's an important thing, too, is I'm going to be writing an article about this in one of my Patreon things there, or maybe I'll like publish this, but when it comes to being the person that is the game facilitator, typically we call them the Dungeon Master, the term Dungeon Master has an implication behind it. And, sometimes I don't want to be the Dungeon Master. Sometimes I want to be the Game Master. Sometimes I want to be the referee. And those do have different facilitations there. So, for example, being like a referee, as a referee, I present a scenario and I sit on the sideline. It's not me that's the monsters. I am just refereeing. I'm making sure that everyone's operating within the rules that we've established, and it's all fair game. And me as the referee, I facilitate, okay, you guys do this. Okay, that's how we're going to rule it. Hey, the monsters do this. That's how we're going to rule it. Hey, the environment does this. That's how we're going to rule it. And I like acting as a referee a lot. Being a dungeon master does, in fact, have the implication that you are, more along the side of the players in working to various degrees, which I do plenty of times, of course, but not always. Sometimes I like to step back away from the DM portion of things and want to be more of the game master. I want to be more of the referee. I want to be more of something else. Trying to anticipate PC responses is an effort in futility, or it's an effort in control. I know that there's a lot of people that like to try and dictate outcomes and all that, and that's something I don't want to do. I want to present challenges to my players and not want to dictate an outcome. Have there been other campaigns that you've ran that were just as fun, written by D&D? I mean, Tomb of Annihilation is just my go-to one. I absolutely love it to pieces because of the environment, because of the roleplay, the combat, the exploration. I love Tomb of Annihilation to absolute pieces. It is just an absolute blast for me. I'm going to run it again sometime soon. And, I won't get tired of it. There's no way I can get tired of it. It's a unique situation every single time that I run it. It's fantastic. I feel like some of the other modules, some of the adventures, I feel like a lot of the times, like the players can't get funneled into one sort of style of how to approach the situation because it almost dictates it in a way. But Tomb of Annihilation, it doesn't. It doesn't funnel you in anywhere close to the degree of the other ones. Tomb of Annihilation is just my go-to. Fantastic. Tomb of Annihilation is just my go-to baby. In fact, I've always got it like right here. By the way, I've always got it hidden right here because I'm always like referencing it for something. It's funny, like I don't read it every day, but it's just always right there. Ooh, a serious question. Okay, I can't wait to get to that. Okay, but question: why is it that potions don't have con saves when you overuse them, but drinking does? There actually is. Funnily enough, I'm totally gonna pull this up in the DMG. There is drinking rules for potions if you like mix them. Yes, variant mixing potions on page 140 of the DMG here. A character might drink one potion while still under the effect of another, or pour several potions into a single container. The strange ingredients used in creating potions can result in unpredictable interactions. When a character mixes two potions together, you can roll on the potion mixability table. If more than two are combined, roll again for each subsequent potion, combining the result. Unless the effects are immediately obvious, reveal them only when they become evident. So there's some fun ones here, like the dreaded Nat 1 on a D100. The mixture creates a magical explosion, dealing 6d10 force damage to the mixer and 1d10 force damage to each creature within 5 feet of the mixer. That is, on average, 30 points of damage to yourself for drinking a potion. That's pretty nar. And mind you, that's force damage, which you almost can never resist. Ooh, pretty nasty one here. 2 through 8, the mixture becomes an ingested poison of the DM's choice. You can just straight up be like, "Oh yeah, you drink purple worm venom." One thing I really like here is both potions work. This is 26 through 35. Both potions work, but their numerical effects and durations are halved. A potion has no effect if it can't be halved this way. I really like that. So, like, if you drink, like, a strength potion plus, like, a healing potion, like, the strength potion could be, like, it bumps your strength up to, like, 23, but because you mixed it, then it bumps your strength up to 13 or something like that, right? I really like that. So there is no con save on that, funnily enough. But there should be. There maybe should be if you're drinking too many potions. Like if you drink maybe if it's like if you drink 2 potions in a row, then it's like, okay, for every potion you drink in a row during combat, you have to make a con save. And so like it starts off at a low DC, but if you're drinking potions like every single round, then the con save gets harder and harder. So only the barbarian is able to drink like potions like left and right in combat. I think that could be pretty cool. I'll actually write that down as a potential rule there. And mind you, as a writer, I'm always like writing down notes on the side. I'm like, oh man, maybe that could be cool. Drinking potions in combat rule. Yeah, so why is the potions... I'll work on that. Serious question. What is a warning sign for a forever DM to step back and be a player again? So this is coming from me, who is a forever DM. I personally don't like being a player. So... what I will say, though, I've definitely talked to a lot of people who have experienced DM burnout. I've dealt with a lot of people who have experienced a D&D burnout and a tabletop role-playing game burnout. I've talked to a lot of these people. So what I'll say is a warning sign for a forever DM to step back and be a player again. I think a really big one would be that of creativity. So... the unfortunate part is, as a DM, you are forced to be creative non-stop, right? You have to present unique challenges to your players. You got to come up with interesting NPCs and interesting locales, and you got to come up with rulings on the fly. And you got to do this, and you have a lot of responsibilities. That is not to say that players do not have responsibilities, but the DM's responsibilities are different. What I'll say is, I think a very good warning sign, or not a good warning sign, but a warning sign for a forever DM to step back and be a player again is when they know in their heart of hearts that they're not applying their absolute creative juices to a scenario. It's an unfortunate thing of you have, you run these unique scenarios time and time and time again. You run this encounter where they're on a pirate ship and they can't, cast fireballs, so they got to come up with something creative. But then specters are coming out of the walls, and then the pirate captain from above is chanting out loud this curse that is reducing your strength by 1d3 every, round. Or whatever. You can have those super unique scenarios time and time and time again. But I promise you, if you're coming up with that scenario time and time and time again, you're eventually going to trip up. And your players may not notice it. Your players actually may not even care that you're tripping up. But if you know that, like, oh man, actually, I kind of like made a lame. I made a scenario that wasn't as cool as it could have been. I made that boss encounter. I didn't give the boss any special abilities. I just gave it, just a standard attack. My players went to this. This dungeon. I thought it was going to be unique, but they kind of just blew through it all. You have to take a step back and realize, like, man, maybe it's time to experience other people's stories, because not everyone's going to DM the same. And you are going to get a lot out of learning from other people. So right there, I'll say a warning sign is not applying your 100% effort. Learn from others to make yourself awesome. It's one of those things of, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the DM or the player? Gary Gygax was, in fact, actually an advocate for the players never being DMs, or in those cases, in back in the day, it was a referee. It was very much so that if you're a referee, you're the referee for life, and if you're a player for life. And that was preached for a long time. Obviously, we have gone away from such a time, but I think it's a good thing to learn from others. I think it's a great thing to apply your own creative liberties and then see other people's creative liberties. Recently finished Curse of Strahd. My first campaign I DM'd and used your videos. The next campaign is Tyranny of Dragons. Any quick tips? Okay. Let me jot that down. And was that another question? Was that another? Preach! So happy to see you doing a live stream. I have been compulsively watching your TOA guide. It's so insightful and helpful after you only running some of the smaller books. You are a genius. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. What I'll say to my TOA guide is, unfortunately, I made that at a time where I was not comfortable in front of the camera. I did not know the creative process. I did not know the editing process. And thus, unfortunately, my TOA guide is not exactly up to par with my creative standards as of today. I have been seriously debating if I should actually just go back and redo the whole series using my newfound, courage or, camera, lack of shyness, and, my creative ability to edit and all that. I've been thinking about doing that. I haven't done it yet because I know it would take a little bit of time, but I've been thinking about doing that. I've been thinking about it. Alrighty, so Tyranny of Dragons, any quick tips? Here's what I'll say about running Tyranny of Dragons. Tyranny of Dragons is unlike a lot of the other, and it is unlike Curse of Strahd, I should say, in that Curse of Strahd is very much a sandbox. Once your players get to explore the world, your players can choose to go where they want, and they can go left or they can go right, they go up, down, They can go wherever. Tyranny of Dragons is not that. Tyranny of Dragons was not made for that. Tyranny of Dragons was made for your players showing up to the table, sitting down, and you buckling them up, and you slamming the button on the roller coaster, and they just run on through. Tyranny of Dragons is very much so a roller coaster style adventure. I'm actually coming out with a video. I believe it's going to be coming out either tomorrow or in 2 days on railroads, roller coasters, and sandbox style of games. But what I'll tell you is Tyranny of Dragons is not a game for people that want the creative liberty of going left, right, up, or down. You're going straight the whole time. All gas, no brakes, except for, of course, when there is some brakes. But you know, Tyranny of Dragons is a great campaign for people that just want to show up and, you know, fight some monsters and show up to their intended destination, right? It's great. So what I'll say is, my tips is make sure your players know that they are in for a roller coaster style of adventure. Because, you know, one thing I typically see a lot is there's a lot of people who are negative toward railroads. I see a lot of people that are like, oh, railroads are terrible. Railroads are this and that. I don't believe that. What I believe is every player shows up to the table for a different experience. And some people want a game world where they can explore around and do whatever, go anywhere, do anything. But I'm here to tell you a lot of people want to show up to the table and get something accomplished. And that's where the roller coaster shines. The roller coaster guarantees that you say, all right, gang, as you beat up the monsters, you learn this clue. And as you learn this clue, you know you need to go here. So you go there. That sounds like you're just destroying the player's autonomy, which in essence is true. But it's a lot better to remove the player's autonomy than to flounder in a game where people don't want to flounder. Because that's what happens in a sandbox. In a sandbox, a lot of time, if you have a big open world, then a lot of time can be spent, air quote, doing nothing. And some people don't want that. Some people want to absolutely guarantee that they're moving along, moving forward. And Tyranny of Dragons is decent at that. I'm running Witchlight and I've been getting a lot of tips from your videos. Thank you so much. Thank you, Juan. And my question, how many games do you play simultaneously either as a DM or as a player? Well, that entirely depends on the week. So, me personally, I am currently a player in one game. I am DMing 2 campaigns, and sometimes I run some pickup one-shots in my Discord or in other communities. So right now, each week is anywhere from I'll say like 2 because not all the time it works out. 2 to 5 games. So in regards to that, I'm typically a DM in all of those, except for one I am the player. But the thing is in regards to that one, as a player, I am basically like this person that just shows up and I'm basically like the guy that like everyone makes fun of. My character is not intelligent. My character is not great at combat. My character is not good at much. So I'm very, very much just there as a body. And I add some comedic relief, and sometimes I do help out in combat. If I get it like a miraculous roll, I'll do decent in combat or whatever. But for the most part, I am a DM or a game master because I do in fact run other games besides D&D. And the reason why I like DMing so many other things is because I find that if I'm just DMing for the same players in the same system, then I will get stagnant with my creativity. When I am DMing for different players and I'm running different game systems, it really does help out my creativity because I'm experiencing other people's creativity. And I really, really like the change of pace, especially from different game systems as well. Don't think I have any questions, but wanted to stop by to hit the like button and pass out drinks. Hey, cheers. Cheers, pale. And yeah, that's something I need to do more of. I want to showcase off more than just D&D, which you know, this will be getting into complaining about YouTube, but on YouTube, if I make a video about 5e, it's typically going to do better than a video about another game system because there is more 5e players, because there's more want for 5e, which I don't think should be the case. I think people need to expand their horizons and try out different game systems. As for the previously mentioned reasons above. Currently running Strahd, and your videos have been super helpful. Thank you. Thank you. You have any collaborations with other D&D creators in the works? Sorry if you've already addressed this. I have not addressed this. I have worked with a whole bunch of other D&D content creators, though. If you look at my channel, I've done a bunch of roundtables where I talk with other YouTubers. And if you are a Curse of Strahd nerd, you probably know who Lunch Break Heroes is. I've actually written for Lunch Break Heroes. I've actually written some of the scripts for some of his videos. I have written some of the adventures that he has published. So, you know, there's those collabs there. And I do plan on collabing more with some people, especially once I've got more things going on. Yeah, there's some things that I really want to collab with other people with. Like, I want to do maybe some sort of, like, bestiary. You know, I want to get some, like, you know, a whole bunch of content creators, you know, making a fun bestiary. I think that could be a total blast. I want to do, that's something showing off here is one of the projects I'm working on is a book of layers and dungeons. And with that, basically, it's going to be a book about layer actions and layer effects and the monsters found therein. And maybe I'll collab with some people on that. I think that could be a blast. I think that could definitely be, I think that could be a fun time. I'm looking at the weird plan, and I don't know why, but, like, I think plan just doesn't look right with only one end. I don't know why. It looks really weird. I don't know why I'm having, like, this mental thing about, like, plan. Like, I feel like plan should have two ends. That's so weird. English is a terrible language. It really is. I really like the Palladium Rift games. Absolutely. I enjoyed your work with Lunch Break Heroes in your interviews too. Heck yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that Lunch Break Heroes is he's a swell guy. Swell guy. Now, of all the content creators, like LBH is definitely someone that I want to aspire to be like, because, you know, the way he presents a lot of his content and the content that he puts out is fantastic, and he's working with a lot of people to get a lot of things accomplished. He actually made a video about it semi recently, but he killed it last year on YouTube. Or not just on YouTube, but with the brand Lunch Break Heroes, because he's got one of the biggest Patreons of all of us D&D YouTubers. His Kickstarter just blew it out of the park. He's putting out all of these adventures that he's selling. He's doing a bunch of things, and I want to do that too. I'm currently right now working on a bunch of little things, and I'm working with other people, but I eventually plan on, you know, pumping out my own content. I want to work with other people just like him, and I want to make myself shine, because as of right now, currently I'm sort of in the shadow of other people, but I want to step out in the spotlight and do my own thing. Okay. Oh, did I just move this? Oh, gosh. Oh, no. Currently running TOA, my players are currently running a hardcore hex crawl. Players think it's slowing the pace down, but enjoy the survivability. Suggestions to keep the pace up. So, the issue with 5e and hex crawls is that they actually, they purely as written, they do not mix. Purely as written, 5e does not have the hardcore survival mechanics of the game. Purely as written, 5e, it doesn't matter how many combats you get into because the next day you wake up all bright and peachy. 5e is not actually supposed to be ran as a hardcore hex roll. Now, that being said, of course, you can easily homebrew in some rules to be like, oh, yeah, you only get a long rest at this time, and you have to eat this much, you got to drink this much. You can easily put those in, right? Now, the real question is length. So players think it's slowing the pace down, but enjoy the survivability. What I would say is, one, have everything pre-rolled. Everything. Like, before they even show up to the table, have the pre-rolls made. Just roll ahead of time saying, okay, like, you know, I've rolled up that you're going to get into this many number of encounters, this many, you know, storms happen, this many this and this many that. Having everything pre-rolled is a very, very great way to ensure that during the game you're not wasting anybody's time by rolling up some dice. Just pre-roll everything. Two would be, one thing you could do is using a variant resting rule. You could just say, hey, there's a straight up no long rest in the jungle, and what that does is you now have the freedom to not barrage your players with combats left and right, but it makes the combat so much more meaningful. If you're running a hardcore hex crawl where there is no long rest until they get to somewhere safe, then every single combat they get into is going to be terrifying because they want to ensure that they suffer no troubles at all. So that right there could be some go-tos. Pre-roll everything. And maybe fiddle about with the rest rules. It's definitely, like, there's a lot of ways you can skin that cat, right? There's a lot of ways you can approach running a hardcore hex crawl. But what I'm here to tell you is, while there is a lot of ways to do it, there is unfortunately a lot of wrong ways to do it with your particular group. What works for my group may not work well with your group, right? A lot of indie comic book creators are coming up with new RPG systems for people to play in their worlds. Yeah, as they should, because as mentioned before, 5e is not the end-all be-all. You shouldn't force 5e into doing anything and everything. You should make a system that works well for what you're intending to do. What's your thoughts on Spelljammer? Sorry, late to the conversation. Don't know if you already answered this. No, I haven't. Well, I made a video on Spelljammer, but if you hadn't checked, my last set of like roundtable videos discussing those have been met with a lot of negativity, so I haven't engaged with those as much. But my thoughts on Spelljammer is as follows. I think Spelljammer can be a blast, but, and this is the big, juicy but, is that, will it work? 5e, purely as written, when it comes to like ships, like on the ocean, it doesn't work well. Because, with ships on the ocean, all right, gang, the pirates are catching up on you. What do? The wizard says, I cast fireball and hit their ship, So it doesn't work. But Spelljammer could work. Now, the real thing that needs to work with Spelljammer is there needs to be really good rules on ship-to-ship combat. There needs to be really good rules on exploring around the Astral Sea. There needs to be really good rules on, customizing the ship and upgrading it and things like that. There needs to be a lot of things. And as you may very well know, when it comes to the setting and apparently of the dressing and mechanics of the book, Spelljammer, we're getting 64 pages. There is going to be 3 books, each of which are 64 pages. One is the setting and mechanics. One is the bestiary, and one is the adventure. The 64 pages may be enough. It might be, but on the same note, it might not be enough. If you actually look, Spelljammer's 2e, ship-to-ship combat rules actually still hold up. You could actually port Spelljammer's 2e rules to 5e with pretty, minimal effort. But obviously they're going to be redoing them. I think that ship-to-ship combat could be a blast, especially if they, keep all the hexes stuff and you have to, turn your ship and then move forward and things like that. I think that'd be really fun, but they may do away with a lot of that, and we'll have to see. I think Spelljammer's got great potential, but it may underdeliver. That's my thoughts on Spelljammer. I think it could be great, but only time will tell. The hair is getting crazy too, by the way. I know. I haven't cut my hair in so long. For those of you that don't know, getting your hair cut costs money, and I'm poor. So, yeah, there's that. In the last 2 years, we've gotten back into playing the old basic D&D game, slightly modified. I actually like Spelljammer in the Astral. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Ooh. How long have I've been going for like an hour and a half, right? I feel like that's pretty decent. I feel like I've been going a good time. Mind you, I streamed at a time where I imagine a lot of people may not have been out of work. Maybe not the best time, but maybe I got a whole bunch of Europeans in because I streamed so early. Maybe. I think Spelljammer will take off with third-party content creators. That I can definitely see happening, right? Because I don't know how much we're going to be getting, in regards of what Wizard of the Coast is giving us, but I know that the DMs Guild is going to be popping up with Spelljammer. I know that people are going to be making totally not Spelljammer, but Spelljammery stuff. I know that's going to be happening for sure. Funnily enough, I actually just ran a Spelljammer one-shot the other day in my Discord. Basically, the synopsis was the group was stuck in the Astral Sea and they needed to find a warp gate. And it was all about them navigating to points of interest and doing all that fun jazz. So maybe I'll run that some more. And maybe, actually, I should probably publish that adventure. Think about it. I'll actually get to work on doing that. I'll publish that one. I think that's a pretty cute Spelljammery adventure. Maybe I'll take off in the Spelljammer content creation. Who knows? Who knows? Woo-wee! Checking, scanning. Alrighty. Is there a way to actually see on my stream how long it's been going? I actually don't know. This whole streaming thing is it's so confusing. Okay. I think I'll go for another half an hour. I'll go for another half an hour. Ooh, that's a good question. Where can you find some of the one-shots you created? Well, so I run these one-shots in the Discord, but I'll be publishing them. I don't know if I'll be doing it on the DMs Guild or not, because the main issue with the DMs Guild is, 1, they take half of your stuff. 2, you're not allowed to sell it anywhere. And 3, it must meet certain criteria. So I may not publish it there. I was thinking about starting up my own website. $10 from Nick. Oh my gosh, for the haircut, man. Thank you so much. That I'll tell you what, $10 goes a long way. Let me tell you. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Um, might be DM's Guild. Might be my website. So yeah, well, once again, thank you so very much. That, you know, $10 goes an extremely long way. The haircut fund. Funnily enough, some people, like all the other YouTube people, they make fun of me because I don't have a chair. For those of you that can't see, I'm actually sitting on the ground in front of a sofa because of how my room is like set up. I physically I can't sit in the seat, and I don't have a chair. So a lot of people have been saying like, "Oh, we need to do a charity event for you," you know. So it's the chair fund. Good on you, Nick. Get that man a haircut. Thank you. So yeah, I was thinking of doing a website because I was looking at a lot of my other YouTuber contemporaries, and a lot of them have websites in addition to their Patreons and coffees and whatever else. So I may start that up soon, where I can sell my products and collab with other people and do all that fun jazz. I've got a lot of stuff in the works, and my plan is basically I don't want to start off with nothing. I want to start off with a bunch of things. I want, like, when I go to sell my content, I want there to be a nice little spread variety of content for you to peruse versus just having a marketplace with just one thing. I noticed, but honestly, it makes you more relatable. Hashtag get this man a chair. Help me, I'm poor. Help me, I'm poor. Thank you. Oh, man. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, I mean, like, it sucks because, like, I see all these other people have these. What really irks me is all these other D&D YouTubers, they have the D&D YouTuber background, right? They've got the minis, they've got the books on the bookshelf, they've got the neon lights, they've got they got the chair, they have all these things, and I don't have any of that. I don't have the minis, I don't have the bookshelf, I don't have all the books, I don't have the chair, I don't have any of these things. So I literally like just look like a bum compared to all these other D&D YouTubers, and it sucks so much. Like, it's so annoying. You know what's really funny is for any of you who have seen some of my newer videos have had a green screen. Do you know how I do my green screen? I have to hang it from the freaking ceiling of my room here, and I just have to sit on the ground with this, like, green screen dangling in front of my sofa. We're not living in luxury here. We're not balling, as it were. Oh, yeah, like, the thing that really irks me is, like, I just don't look like the rest of my D&D fellow content creators. Some of them have, wear fancier clothes, or some of them have special mics, or they've got special cameras, or they got the chair, they've got the background, they've got some of my YouTuber compatriots have suits. I don't own a suit. I'm poor. I've never owned a suit in my life. You kidding me? So I just, like, stick out in a funny way to all these people. Comfort over trendy. Setup looks good to me. Thank you. Are you on Twitter? I might be able to send some of the comic book creators your way for RPG stuff in their world. I am on Twitter, in fact. I am, once again, like, I've been super duper inactive. I think there's actually a link in the video of this very video to my Twitter. I have not been active on Twitter at all, but I do plan on changing that soon. Basically, my plan is for me to air quote reinvent this channel. I'm going to be active on not just the YouTubes, but I need to be active on Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram. I need to create my own website. I need to collab with other people. I need to do a lot of things. And that will be happening in the summer, for sure. In the summer, I'll definitely be able to slap down a whole bunch of content for everyone's consumption. I'll be able to showcase off my works. I'll be able to work with other people. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's gonna be a lot. Ooh, here we go. I'm struggling to get my players to try OSR because they enjoy character customization and character builds. Any advice? Here's the advice, right? I know a lot of people try and trick their players into playing OSR. There's a link to your Twitter in the description. Yes. I know there's a lot of people who try to trick their players into doing OSR. I know there's a lot of players who basically try to slowly build them up over time, like, oh yeah, play 5e. Oh yeah, play 5 Torches Deep, which is, the OSR mod to 5e. And then you slowly convert them. Here is my best advice. I would tell my players genuinely and honestly that you would be able to run a more enjoyable and more engaging experience using OSR. In addition to that, what I would reaffirm them with is not only would you be doing a better performance as the DM or GM or whatever you want to call it when you're running OSR, but I would reassure them that character building is more organic and far more flavorful in OSR. As I mentioned before, when it came to the other OSR question, it is so much more engaging when, as a fighter, you have the choice. Hey, there is the church, and the church is being overran by devils. You have the choice. Are you going to side with the devils and get their devilish boon? Or are you going to side with the church and thus get a boon from the deity they worship? And then once your fighter makes that choice, that right there, that's character customization right there. You're actively choosing, hey fighter, this is your quest. You're the lead on this. Are you going to save the church or are you going to damn the church? And then from there on, right there, that they're building their character. Reaffirm them with the idea that OSR is far better for that style of, engaging characters than it is to simply just level up and pick the go-to thing. That's what I would strongly recommend. Any advice? Reassure them of your GMing skills and tell them of the more organic style of building characters. As I mentioned before earlier, you may not have been here, but basically, I love, with 5e, if I show up to someone else's game and I pick up a 5th level fighter's character sheet, I'm going to know 95% of what's on that character sheet. I'm going to say, okay, I already know that they've got Second Wind. I know that they've got Action Surge. I know that they've got this. I know that they've got that. But when you look at OSR, it's a different game. When I go to OSR and I pick up a 5th level's character sheet, I don't know what the heck's going to be on there. And that right there, that unknowing is so much more. So much more. So fantastic. So I would reassure and reaffirm those beliefs. Can you cover other games besides D&D, FFG, Star Wars games, G.I. Joe maybe? I have covered several other game systems. And I plan on covering more relatively soon. I plan on it. So as on my channel, I have covered Old School Essentials, Dungeon Crawl Classics, Land of Eam. Oh my gosh, what else have I covered? What the heck else have I covered? I can't even remember. But I do plan on covering other game systems besides D&D 5e. Absolutely. It's just that, obviously, it's just unfortunate that, the views aren't there. If I make a video on something that's not 5e, then it's not going to be as well received. It's just the nature of it. There's actually a lot of content out there for OSR custom characters. For sure, there is, right? There is absolutely a lot of Like, depending on the game system that you're looking at, because OSR is the analogous thing. Depending on the game system that you're looking at, there's still character customization in some OSR games. Typically, that's not the case in most OSR games, but in some of them there is. There's actually, thank you, no problem. There's actually an old PDF that lets you build custom characters based on XP needed to level up. Yeah. I think it's called The Perfect Class. I think I remember seeing that. I think I remember that. It's one of those things of, while you may want your players to play a different game system, and you may be trying your hardest, the sad, unfortunate truth of the matter is, you can drag a horse to water, but they may not drink, right? There may be some people who are so resentful of trying anything else except for the one game system that they've ever played, that they show up with negative connotations and immediately dismiss it. I've seen that happen before, and it sucks. I love introducing people to new game systems, but there is unfortunately people that purposely drag their heels and stomp and say, this isn't the game system that I've been playing, I want this thing. Which, it sucks. It really does. But some people are just like that. And then it comes down to this decision of, do you still try to run for them, or do you do something else, right? What the frick? I'm trying to have my chat on my phone, but it's not working. Well, the stream got up to 100 views, so that's pretty cool. I did not expect to see triple digits there. That's really cool. Mind you, not 100 current viewers, but 100 different viewers cycling in and out. That's pretty cool. Oh, man. If any and all of you have any questions of any sort of nature in regards of running the game, playing the game, nerd things, or just life things, feel free to ask. I'm all about it. Awesome. And understood regarding gaining views when not covering 5e. I try to sneak in one shot or a few sessions a game of new stuff between campaigns to try different games. Congrats for reaching the centennial mark. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so in regards of like the YouTube thing, YouTube punishes you for not doing well. And it's really unfortunate, right? If you are a channel and you don't do well, like let's say, for example, your channel, on one of your videos you get 1,000 views, and then your next video you only get 100 views, YouTube is going to purposely like disregard you. YouTube wants you to keep pumping out better, and what ends up happening is, I'm sure some of y'all have seen it on some of the biggest YouTubers out there. A lot of them have talked about this, but that churn rate, the burn rate, the constant need to constantly improve is terrible. Terrible. It's ridiculous. Like, YouTube is fostering a system where you have to constantly improve. It doesn't matter that you got 100 out of 100 on the last video. You need to get 101 on the next video. It's freaking ridiculous. And also something very, very annoying too is YouTube basically pushes you into a corner with your niche. If you are X YouTuber, then you cannot be a Y YouTuber. For example, being Minecraft. If you're a Minecraft YouTuber, you build up your channel, you get 1 million subscribers because you're a Minecraft YouTuber, and you're getting, all these views, and all your viewers are Minecraft people. And then you say, you know what? I want to make a video on like Call of Duty. YouTube is going to just slap you and say, no. And and that doubles into the idea of it also punishes you again because your video didn't perform well. You know, if you're that Minecraft YouTuber, you get 1 million views every single video that you do, but then you come out with the Call of Duty video and the Call of Duty video only gets 100,000 views, then all of a sudden it's not pushing you out anymore. It sucks. And that's what happens in the tabletop role-playing game sphere. I'm sure you've seen it with a bunch of other D&D YouTubers, but they are forced into a very, very weird niche within the niche that is D&D. Like, XP to level 3 has to make comedy videos, and you know, some people make videos on specific modules, and some people make the top 10 herpy derpy diddly D's, you know, and it sucks that you're just relegated into this really, really niche thing, and I hate that. I hate it so much. So annoying. All right, people, hit the bell so we can get this man some views. Thank you. YouTube punishes you for live streams too. They don't get to put on as many ads. Yeah. YouTube, in fact, actually really wants you to, they want you to live stream and then immediately take it down. And then if you're so choosing to like re-upload it, but as like a very highly edited version of it, like reducing it. You're supposed to reduce like an hour-long video into like 5 minutes or something. Ooh, here we go. Here we go. A new question. Oh, what the frick? What the? There we go. Do you think there's a movie that captured the spirit of OSR fantasy, if such a thing is possible? Yes. Yes. Off the top of my head, Conan. Conan's great. Like, and I'm not talking about the new Conan. I haven't seen the new Conan. But the old Conans from, like, the 1980s with Arnold. Those are great. Old Conan. There was a movie called Legend. I need to write these down. Conan, Legend. Legend is fantastic. I really dig that one. In regards to YouTube, oh my gosh, there was there's a YouTube. Is it a story of fire and ice? Not Game of Thrones, but there's a cartoon. Oh my gosh, Fire and Ice. Cartoon. Is it just called Fire and Ice? Is that it? Yes. Yeah, it's just called Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice. And another one is on YouTube, in fact. There's a YouTuber. Oh my gosh. I'm going to go insane. Not finding this one. Oh gosh. Help me out here. What is the process where there's like live action like people, but someone draws a cartoon over them? It's not cell shaded. It's there's a process for that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Oh my gosh, that's gonna drive me insane. Rotoscope, yes. Rotoscope animation. There is a. I'm gonna find this one. Here we go. Exordium. In fact, I'll actually link it in the. I hope that doesn't go through. I'll actually link it in the video in the YouTube here. Conan is a thief. Yes, Conan. Contrary to name, Conan the Barbarian. Conan is actually a thief before he's a barbarian. Fun fact. Exordium. So those are my top picks there for OSR pieces of content. Yes, Rotoscope. Yeah. Yeah. So check those out. Conan, Legend, Fire and Ice, and Exordium. And the Exordium channel, I believe that they just came out with a movie, and I haven't gotten to sit down and watch it yet, but I do plan on doing that. So yeah, check that out. In D&D 5e fan, but also a fan of other games, what I enjoy most about your channel is your universal advice for GMing. Also your views and dissection of adventure mods. Keep up the good work. Thank you, thank you. I myself am also a fan of other games, and I also like to present things in a general point of view. Spine of the Night is a great rotoscope. Yes. Yeah, so Dean, like, yeah, I want to I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but I doubt anyone is still here from the beginning of the stream. I want to make videos that get you to question both running the game and playing the game. I'm in the future here, I'm going to be asking questions that are universal to not only D&D, but also all games in general. And I want to get people to think critically about the games that they run, the games that they play, the adventures they start up, and the action they take. I want to do these things, and I'm going to be making a bunch of videos fairly soon here on these topics. And these are going to be a lot more edited than I've done before. I was here then, heck yeah, rolling from the beginning. And I'm going to be doing a lot more editing. There's going to be a green screen. There's going to be an actual script. I'm actually going to be stepping up my game immensely. I'm still going to be keeping my charm of sitting on the ground and being relatable and poor, so do not worry about that. I'm still going to be relatable. Not like all these, other YouTubers that are sitting on their, sitting in their ivory towers high above us all, right? I'm still going to be the common man, as it were. But I want to make videos that get people to question things. I want to give out advice that's meaningful and not just, a flash in the pan. I want to do these things. So stay tuned for that. That's coming. I'm working on a bunch of things, right? I'm working on my YouTube channel. I'm working on my brand, No Fun Allowed. I'm working on the adventures that I'm writing and running. I'm working on a bunch of things. I want to push these out to a lot more people. I want to push myself. I want to push you all. Like that's a very important thing for me is I don't want to just push myself to make better content. I want to push you all to make better content with these questions about how you run the game and how you perceive adventures and how you do these things. I want everyone to improve. I want all of us to challenge each other. And that's what I aim for. That's what I'm going to be aiming for. Oh, goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Sakes alive. I always wondered if you were sitting on the ground next to a bed, maybe. Yeah, so this is actually a couch, which does double as a bed sometimes when I'm feeling particularly lazy. I don't think the green screen is a big thing. I think the content speaks for itself. Thank you. Thank you. The unfortunate truth of the matter is, though, is while you may be a purveyor of the fine arts and not care about the aesthetics, the unfortunate truth of the matter is a lot of people are. All of us D&D YouTubers, we're all in these Discords together and we're all talking about these things. And one of the big things is retention. There's a bunch of people that click off of a video within 30 seconds. If they do not see something that is good enough. It doesn't matter how good the content is, how it's presented. What matters is it aesthetically pleasing? For some people, right? And that's something I need to work on. Is not only do I need to have an aesthetically pleasing video, but my thumbnail game needs to go up. Thumbnails are a humongous thing. I can promise you that the best video ever on YouTube, ever made in existence in the history of all of YouTube ever of all time, is a video that didn't get clicked on because it didn't have a good thumbnail. I'm willing to bet that's the case. I'm willing to bet the best video ever of all time did not have a good enough thumbnail attached to it and thus didn't get the views it deserved. Conversely, there's a bunch of people who have great YouTube or thumbnails, but they click on the thumbnail because it's good, and then they click off because it's not great. So it's a package deal. You need to work on a lot. Ask AJ for a pic of his bookcase. I'll ask AJ for a pic of his bookcase, and then I'll green screen that in. Absolutely. Tell us about the subclasses in the Grand Tournament resource. Yeah, so actually, this isn't even an up to date. Let me see if I can find. I'll tell you about that though. In the Grand Tournament, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So, for my zines, I am now working on publishing issue number 5. I have released 4 so far. Issue number 1, Villages. Issue number 2, The Grand Tournament. Issue number 3, Level 0 Peasants. Issue number 4, Jungles. And issue number 5 is going to be Islands. So let me see if I can drag this over here. Is there any way to do that? Boop, 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 boop. Boom. Yeah, so I've worked on many different ones, and these are all part of my Patreon. For just $5 a month, you get access to the current zine. For $10, you get access to all the zines. And these are all basically filled with all sorts of various tidbits. They come with new mechanics, new spells, random tables, backgrounds, articles, monsters, adventures. And they all hop around. So, like, the level 0 one didn't have any new subclasses because it was about level 0 play. There is no subclasses, right? But then the Grand Tournament, that one in particular had 2 subclasses. That one had, let me just pull this up here. Have to go through so many different files. That one had the Sun Cleric. Cleric circled the sun, and it had something else. Here we go. Found it. It had. Was it a cleric? Oh yeah, it was the cleric dark domain. That's what it was. I remember because it was dark. It's dark and sun. That's what it was. And let me see if I can pull this up here, as I'm trying to load all this. I'm sure my computer's gonna like blow up any second now. My computer can only handle so much. Where is it? Here we go. Cleric Dark Domain. Let me see if I can. How do I do this here? YouTube doesn't recommend you a bunch, but I know you and subbed to you from the roundtable vids. Heck yeah, thank you. Yeah, YouTube doesn't recommend me because I don't publish air quo good enough content. And I have to live with that, right? Like, I do plan on changing that, but as of right this current moment in time, I was publishing the kind of content I wanted to publish. Is what it is. So how can I change that? Boom. Here we go. So a quick little look at 2 of the subclasses that I made here. The Cleric Dark Domain. Their whole thing is about darkness. They have abilities that can affect the areas around them, and they can dampen light, dark and light. They get darkish little domain spells: Bane, Inflict Wounds, Blindness, Deafness, Darkness, Bestow Curse, Speak Dead, Blight, Everett's Black Tentacles, Negative Energy Flood, and Raise Dead. Pretty cool. And Circle of the Sun, their whole thing is dealing with fire. So they get a aspect of the sun, and basically that's their whole special thing is they can move about these little motes of flame that deal fire damage to people, and just a whole bunch of fun jazz there. I really like the name of this one, Sunny Disposition. I think that's pretty cute. But so they can like help by giving like their teammates resistance to fire damage and all that stuff. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I work on. Is my monthly zine here. It has a whole bunch of fun goodies for everyone. I've got each zine's a bit different. I've got different articles, new feeds, new game mechanics, new various sorts of things like that. So that's what I'm working on. And oh, there we go. Oh no, not that one. No, not that one either. Oh my god. Thankfully, nothing too terribly dangerous got exposed there. But got a little behind the scenes action there. So a way to fix that is to go through the playlist and hit the like button. Hey, that helps. Every single interaction in any way, shape, or form goes a long way. Because basically YouTube had we speculate about this because YouTube doesn't actually push out their analytics, but we have like these metrics or whatever. But the difference between a video that gets 100 views and 2 comments versus a video that gets 100 views and 50 comments, one of those is going to be pushed more than the other, and you'll never guess who, right? Everything goes a long way. The likes, the comments, the subscriptions, every little thing. And watching it all the way through helps a long way too. In fact, actually, funnily enough, it actually hurts a video if you click on it and then click off of it, because yeah, you gave them a view, but that's telling them that the watch through rate is bad, and that makes YouTube suspect that it is like a clickbaity video or something, and that's like sending a bad message. So, important note there. I have to go, but good stream. Good luck in growing your channel. Hope to see you more. Thank you so very much, Pale. Thank you so very much. So checking out all that fun jazz, anything and everything helps a long way. It really, really does. And I'm going to be trying to push myself. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be trying to push you all. So I hope you're all here with me through that journey. I am going to end the stream in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So if you've got any burning questions, any burning thoughts and desires or motivations, things you want to get off your chest, I'll be there. I'll be your huckleberry, as it were. Anything and everything. At one point, I thought I was going to be a what do you call those things? At one point, I thought I was gonna genuinely be a therapist, because I was a basically go-to therapist for a lot of people at a young age in my life, but it turns out you have to be rich to be a therapist, because it costs money. So I'm poor. And that's the bottom line is, yeah, you got to go to college and all that fun jazz. How do you feel about games that challenge the resourcefulness of the players rather than the player roles for the character and figuring out puzzles? Yeah. Yeah. So how I feel about that is there is 3 things you can challenge, right? You can challenge the players, you can challenge the characters, or you can challenge both the players and the characters. And I think it's important to have those distinctions. I think it's really important to sit there and say, hey, I don't care what your character sheet says. This is a puzzle. Figure it out yourselves. What's 2 plus 2, right? That'll give some players a run for their money, right? But then you also have the puzzles that are for the characters and are very much more mechanical, right? You're going to have the puzzles where you have to, duck through here, but the only way to duck through there is to successfully save on some sort of dexterity check. And the other puzzle of, okay, you have to move there, kind of thing. And then you'll have the in-between, right? You'll have both, where you say, hey, player, you have to come up with a solution, and your character has to be able to perform it well. So it's important to have those distinctions, and it's very important that you make it apparent to the players, because if you have a puzzle or some sort of challenge and you're challenging the players, but they're just trying to apply it purely mechanically through their characters, they may be getting into a road wall, and then vice versa, right? If there is a challenge that is meant to challenge the characters, and the players think that they can overcome it without any sort of mechanical things, then they're going to come to like some sort of wall, right? So it's important to have those distinctions, and I feel like those are good. Challenging the players, the characters, and both at the same time. Yeah, so I definitely think that that's definitely a worthwhile thing to do. Definitely, you should do at some point because your players get challenged a bunch, your characters get challenged a bunch. Do that. If you were stranded on a deserted island, what 3 items would you want to have with you? I mean, the boring answer is always like a helicopter, fuel, and a pilot. Like that's always the go-to boring one. But in the instance of like the whole you cannot get off the deserted island thing, I would probably go along the line of, and also like things that are like practical too. Like you can't have like a phone because you're gonna run out of juice or whatever. Man, that is a tough one. The 3 things I would want to have with me, I would definitely want, a knife, because a knife, can go a long way. Like a little, even if it's a little knife can cause you to create more tools. And once you get tools, you won't need the knife anymore. 2, I would really want some sort of medical supply in case any sort of function goes down. And 3, oh man, what would be the 3rd thing? That's a tough one. There's no one book I could ever just sit there and read forever and all the time, because all like one book would just get stale. And like, if I really want to, I could just make dice, and thus I could just run any game system off the top of my head, so I don't need like a rule book or anything like that. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know, like, so a knife, medical, and oh gosh, what would the 3rd thing be? I guess a tent. A tent, because a tent would probably a tent would go a long way, because like I could make like a shelter, but like a man-made tent that was like durable would be anything better than I could make on a deserted island. So knife, medical, and tent. Once again, the boring answers are, the working cell phone and, a radio tower and this and that. But, those are just always the boring go-tos. What do I want on a deserted island? I want a boat. I want gasoline for the boat, and I want, booze for the ride home. Haha, I'm thinking now, like, if I legit got stranded on a deserted island, I would go insane for sure, because human beings need contact with other human beings, or at least just other creatures. But like I would, for a long time, I would have to be running a lot of solo games. I'd have to like come up with like scenarios and like challenge myself. I'd have to be running a lot of solo RPGs and whatnot. That would certainly be a challenge. Now, if I was stuck on a deserted island with other people, I'd be perfectly fine with that, because I don't have to pay taxes anymore. I don't have to, go to some 9-to-5 job that I hate. I don't, all those things. Like, that would be fun. If you got stranded on a deserted island with the right people, it would be a great time. Provided, of course, the island has, everything to provide you with, sustainable living, right? All right, I'm going to wrap things up in 5 minutes. 5 more minutes. Anyone got anything burning? Any burning desires, hearts, thoughts, motivations, anything of that nature? Feel free to send them your way. Anything and everything. I'm down to clown. All in all, though, good stream. I got a lot of people showing up. I got $10. I got to answer some really great questions. This is a good stream. All things considered, this was a really great stream. Oh, goodness gracious. Sakes alive. Ooh, what the heck did I just do? There we go. Thanks for the chat. Here's to continued success. Cheers. I'm praying for success. Like I said, I'm definitely not doing the best on YouTube here in my role playing game sphere and all that, but I'm doing better than some. Right? I'm not doing the best. I ain't doing the worst. I'm doing. I think the ultimate dream would be to have content creation be a sustainable living where I'm making videos and adventures and all that fun jazz. If that was legit, like how I made my living, that'd be fan-friggin-tastic. I want to get there. And it's definitely not impossible. Definitely not. Are there any restrictions to making YouTube content about published D&D content? To our knowledge, there is none. So far, Wizards of the Coast has not gone to anybody about anything for anything official. The only thing, in fact, what's his face? Ted from Nerdiversion? And that dude straight up, leaks things because he's clearly got some insider information, and he leaks, D&D knowledge. And he hasn't gotten busted by the Wizards of the Coast police. So, to our knowledge, there is nothing off table. Nothing is off the limits. That being said, of course, there's obviously, some things you shouldn't do. You shouldn't, maybe make videos about very, very sensitive topics, or maybe you shouldn't do very explicit things. I shouldn't be making the D&D, sex dungeon adventure, right? I shouldn't do that, right? But there's definitely, to my knowledge, not a single D&D YouTube content creator has been canceled or removed or deplatformed or anything of that nature purely for anything about publishing D&D content. Every single D&D YouTuber or content creator that has been canceled or removed from the platform is because they were scumbags and terrible people. So yeah, to my knowledge, no. To my knowledge. That being said, there could be, there is a world technically where, I guess Wizards of the Coast is, silencing people and we just don't know it. I doubt that world exists, but it's technically possible. Doubt it, though. I'm about to run Yester Hill for Chris Strahd this week. Gonna prep by watching your video on it. Heck yeah, thank you. Heck yeah. Yester Hill is, certainly a time for some people. Maybe not the best time, maybe not the worst time, but it's certainly a time. In fact, for the groups that I've ran, Yester Hill has been a pretty terrible time for most of my groups that I've ran that through. So, take it with a grain of salt. When I played, it's funny. I first played through Curse of Strahd, and then I ran it multiple times and made the whole huge guide series on it. So yeah, I've definitely had a lot of different views on on the whole adventure, pretty much. Oh. All right, just 2 more minutes. Just 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes, and then I gotta drop. I got to drop it like it is hot. Oh man, I just clicked on the wrong thing, didn't I? My group is level 5 right now, so there's a chance they could get wiped. I'll tell you what, if they were a level 4, that would be a disaster. And that's honestly, like, that's something I want to talk about in regards of, like, running adventures, is when there's a chance that your players could do the same, like, thing, like, same either combat encounter or dungeon or whatever, but they do it at different levels. Different levels are night and day. Obviously, the difference between level 4 and 5 is the most egregious, like, difference between skill and, like, a capability of all players in all of D&D. But even still, the differences between a level 3 group and a level 4 group are drastic. The difference between a level 6 and a level 7 group are drastic. And that's something I want to discuss is, you know, whenever you're running an adventure, never write something for different levels because it just doesn't work. You can't, like, I see all the time people trying to publish adventures and like little mini things about like, oh, this works well for groups, you know, levels 1 through 3. Guess what? A level 1 PC versus a level 3 PC is, it's not even comparable. It really isn't. So that's something for a future video to discuss though. But without further ado, I think that is going to do it for me. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you to my amazing patrons who keep the lights on around here. Thank you for everyone who liked, commented, and subscribed. Thank you for everything. You guys are really great. And thank you for that dono from Nick. That helps out a lot. So thank you all so very much. And I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.